Welcome to mediamelanie TV. Today I'm back to talk about the summer I turned pretty season 3, episode 9, Last Call. You guys, there are only 2 episodes left in the season, and our girl Belly is finally in Paris. This is something I've wanted for her from the very beginning. Was anybody else shocked that Belly did not even acknowledge or talk to Conrad at the airport? Because let me tell you, I was. This episode was also full of amazing needle drops. We got a couple of Taylor Swift's You're on Your Own Kid and How Did It End? We got some Lana Del Rey, Beatles, solid music choices as ever. So our girl Belly ends up in Paris, as I mentioned. On the flight, she removed her ring from Jer, put it in the bag. She gets to Paris, figures out, oh no, I actually cannot enter this program because there was not a spot for me after all. I was kind of surprised that she even called the program in general, but I guess, yeah, she was trying to do some forward planning here. So she goes to wallow in this French cafe. And first rule of tourism, never leave your bag unattended. Fortunately, she had an air tag in there. She seemed more concerned about the ring than anything. And the way she's like, this is a priceless ring. I mean, the ring has been a conversation on social media. Obviously, it's very small. And even though Conrad brought Susanna's ring for Jer, obviously the wedding didn't go through. But the sentimentality over Belly removing the ring and getting so upset when it was lost just goes to show that, yeah, she did truly love Jer. Unfortunately, with everything that happened with Conrad, she did admit her true feelings. Although, again, pretty shocked she did not talk to Conrad at the airport. But at the same time, what would they have said to each other? Would Conrad have asked Belly to stay? Would he have gone to Paris with her? So, in a way, I'm glad it didn't happen because, as I've been saying this whole season, Belly needs to go find herself. And the fact that she is acknowledging that, decided to stay in Paris, even though Laurel was like, hey, Belly, please come home. I'm worried about you. Just get on the next flight. She's still doing this for her with a literal rebuilding metaphor of her looking at an actual church being rebuilt. There could not have been a more literal metaphor. But also, good thing she had that air tag in the bag and she was able to track it down to the secret club and then all of a sudden become friends with an entire group of French students who she then has a little post-mortem with in the cafe. But what stood out to me when she was having that conversation was the line where one of the girls said, if you don't do some damage in your 20s, you're not living. And you know what? I could not agree more. The 20s is truly a decade to find yourself, learn who you are before settling down, before making decisions for other people. So I am so glad that Belly stayed in Paris, and I'm excited to see how it all pans out. Obviously, this guy, Benny, could be a potential love interest, but it also seems maybe just like a little too easy and everything just happened to fall into place. And obviously, she's going to find a place to stay. She made these new friends. So, I mean, it all seems like it's going to work out for her, which is great. However, meanwhile, we get the fallout from the wedding. Jer obviously is understandably upset. They have a long night of binge drinking. And can I just shout out Taylor for a second? This girl has been a friend to everybody, including Jer. I love that Steven and Taylor are getting back together, but the way she told Steven about Cabo, and he's like, who the F is Lacey Barone? First of all, somebody should have told Steven about this sooner. He obviously made this complete 180 as soon as he heard that news. So that helped take a little bit of the anger off of Conrad and probably Belly as well. I imagine everybody is a little bit disappointed. I mean, Laurel too. Can we talk about the fact that she goes to talk to Jer and he's like, you're not my mother? That cut pretty deep. And Laurel's trying to do the right thing. Speaking of Laurel, when she and Adam had that conversation and she's like, okay, dickhead, let's go. I thought that was so funny. That was a really solid Laurel line. And I love that Laurel is trying to get her daughter to come home. But at the same time, I was also sort of hoping that she would be encouraging Belly to stay and do her own thing. I mean, she's already in Paris. Who wants to just take a turnaround flight home? I'll tell you who, not me if I was in that very situation. Conrad is still trying to be a bit of a caretaker here, gathers the clothes, the red Gatorade. And when Taylor gives the red Gatorade to Jer, I think he's thinking that Taylor was the one who got the red Gatorade. But no, it was obviously Conrad. Then we have the Conrad and Jer situation back at Cousins. The painting arrives. the conversation when Jer's like, well, I love to be the one to tell you this, but Belly's in Paris and she's staying there. Why don't you just get on a flight to California and never come home? Brother burn. And who could blame Jer? I mean, in this situation, both of the Fisher brothers are wrong in some way. And like everybody keeps saying, Conrad and Belly dated so long ago. How is this even a thing? But our girl Taylor steps in and is like, you know what? The whole soulmate thing. And that's what a lot of us have been saying since the beginning. They are soulmates. Hopefully they are endgame. And I don't know, maybe will Conrad, instead of getting on a flight to go back to California, get on a flight and go see Belly in Paris? I also have mixed feelings about that. I would hope if he did do that, maybe he'll give her a little bit of time to actually do her own thing and respect those boundaries. And by the way, back to the needle drops for a second. At the very end of the episode with the whole church metaphor situation, we hear the line from Taylor Swift's How Did It End? Did you hear they called it off? And that just hit for me so hard, equally as hard with the Beatles song for the Steven and Taylor, and another Taylor Swift song that was also playing while Belly arrived in Paris, and transitioning into Steven and Taylor, which is You're on Your Own, Kid. And just overall, the needle drops this season have been so good. The season 3 soundtrack has been something I've been playing constantly just to stay in this vibe, because with only 2 episodes left in the entire series, how is it going to end? Again, I didn't read the book, so I don't know. And Jenny Han has said there will be a changed ending. So we will all see. Before I get into the last part of this review, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I am working towards my next big goal of hitting 3,000 subscribers. I would love to get there by the end of the year. So I would super appreciate if you subscribe and follow me for more TV talk. I am also finishing up Dexter Resurrection. And I'm also dropping a review of The Paper, which is a spinoff of The Office, and then going into the Only Murders in the Building season. Looking ahead, also the Talamasca and It Welcome to Derry. So we've got lots of fun TV this fall when this does end. And you know what? If you're looking for a recommendation of a love triangle heavy show to watch, you could always catch up on seasons 1 and 2 of The Buccaneers on Apple TV Plus. It's a great show, got a lot of love triangles, so keep the vibe going after the Summer I Turned Pretty ends. Can I also just talk a little bit about the French music? I'm not sure the names of these songs, but when Belly's running through the streets and subways of Paris and they have this kind of like French music playing, there's some line in there about being insane. I loved it. I always appreciate when they include international songs in there that maybe we're not super familiar with. There's a few shows that have done that very well, and this is one of them. I think one of the moments in this episode that actually took me aback a little bit at how much I liked it was the talk between Adam and Conrad when he was basically comparing after Susanna's death and how heavily Conrad let that weigh on him, how he shouldered all of that grief and how he's always been kind of a caretaker. Adam shares the experience and says it sort of mirrors that because Jer wants nothing to do with Conrad. And I mean, rightfully so. This dad moment for Adam is something that really did sort of come out of nowhere. I loved seeing him actually playing the father role. And yes, Conrad is the favorite son, but even the way at the end that him and Jer were sitting there hugging, Adam is coming around. And something I liked was we did not actually see Kaylee in this episode. I don't think we needed her in the mix of all of this drama. Of course, Adam's like, yeah, I'm going to have to drive her and her parents to Wellfleet. And, she's out there helping her parents pack. And that's when Laurel was like, I can't believe you would invite her or her parents to this wedding. Like the whole thing with Kaylee is just absolutely ridiculous. But overall, this episode was a really nice transition to where we're finally getting away from the wedding stuff and moving on to the finality of this series, allowing our girl Belly to go and do her own thing, experience some other people, probably this guy Benny, just based on some of the teasers that we've seen. But also one of the big takeaways is I'm actually so happy Taylor and Steven are finding their way back together because you know what? People deserve to be happy. I'm glad Steven did not end up with Denise. And I do wonder, is there a possibility now that Denise could end up with Jer as sort of a rebound and they actually work out, and maybe Jared does enter this whole startup business with Steven and Denise. But seeing Steven and Taylor together, I loved that. I loved the Lana Del Rey needle drop, and then the Beatles, oh darling, they're so cute. And the self-awareness from Taylor saying, you know what? I don't know how to be around boys. And Steven then saying, well, you know what? The way that you were with me through all of this, just as such a good friend, was really awesome. And I don't know, I'm just such a Taylor fan now. Never thought I would be here, but here's to hoping that Belly and Conrad also end up together. And I've been curious this whole time, will we get some sort of a flash forward for the finale? Maybe the next episode we see Belly sowing her wild oats, as they say in Paris, and then perhaps the finale will be a time jump like 3 years from now. And I'm also wondering, there were pictures out there of both Conrad and Jeremiah in Paris. So are they going to show up? Will it just be sort of a dream sequence, or did they maybe film multiple endings to confuse us with all of the behind the scenes things that are out there? I guess that is to be determined. Overall, though, I think this episode was great. My review video is just a little bit shorter this week. I actually stage managed for the San Diego Padres, and we've got a day game today. So I wanted to bust this review out. I'm going to get it up as soon as I possibly can. But most importantly, I would love for you to share all of your thoughts on this episode in the comments. Did you like it? Are you glad that Conrad and Belly didn't have a conversation at the airport? Or is that something that you would have liked to see? I think the way it played out was the way it should be. And honestly, I'm just happy that Belly went to Paris in the first place, because my PSA this whole season from a middle-aged woman has been never give up a piece of yourself or an experience for anybody else. You do you. And just like the line said in this episode, if you're not causing some damage in your 20s, you're not living. That is truly the time of life to make mistakes, but most importantly, learn from them. And hopefully Belly is going to gain a lot of self-awareness and learn more who she is and find out who she is without these pillars of safety in her life. So, 2 episodes left. Be sure to stick with me for the rest of the season and for lots of fun TV talk coming up this fall. I appreciate you being here. And hey, remember, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Help me get to that goal of 3,000, working closer to being a full-time TV content creator. I love talking about TV, and I'm so thankful that you're all here to have the conversation with me. So, thank you very much, and I'll be back again soon. Media Melanie, clicking off.